Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. My name is Nathan Wirtz. I'm a director of consulting services here at Alithya. And today we're going to be talking about unveiling the contrast, an in-depth analysis of two leading CRM providers. We've got a couple special guests with us today, and I'll introduce them here in a moment. Before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit about Alithya briefly. We are an IT consulting company, and we provide services, and we have deep expertise in many industries, as you can see on the slide. And we partner with leading IT providers, namely Microsoft, Oracle, AWS, and many others. Let's go ahead and introduce our panel today. First, we have Ryan Casey, Vice President at Alithya. Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe what you're excited about for this call today.
Hello, everyone. Ryan Casey, based in Atlanta, and I've been in the CRM software space pretty much my whole career, primarily in the Microsoft segment, and have helped customers select the right CRM platform, deploy it, succeed with it. I hope, given my background and focus on Microsoft, to showcase that solution a little bit along the way and maybe generate some excitement about Microsoft.
Thank you, Ryan. Kelly Houlihan is with us today. She's a Vice President of Sales at Alithya. Kelly, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe what you're excited about for the call today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Kelly Houlihan. I am the VP of Sales and Account Management for Alithya's digital adoption practice. And I'm here joining the panel today because I led the transition for my team from Salesforce to Dynamics CRM. And I'm hopeful that I can provide some impactful and valuable insights about making that transition today. Super excited to be here.
Kelly, thank you for being here today. We really look forward to your insights. Last but not least, we have Jordan McGinnis. Jordan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Hi, everyone. So I'm excited to be speaking with you all here today, just to kind of talk about the overall value of the Microsoft, the whole Microsoft story. So my name is Jordan McGinnis. I'm a technical specialist at Microsoft, and my day-to-day focus is on helping businesses enhance their customers' experience through, the Microsoft, the whole ecosystem, and specifically Dynamics 365.
Great. I'm really excited. We've got a great panel today. So let's dive in. Ryan, I want to throw the first question here to you. What are you seeing in the CRM marketplace today with these two leaders in the space?
Being Salesforce and Microsoft specifically? Gosh, what an exciting time to be in the CRM business space. Technology is exploding, as everyone knows, and I'm sure Jordan will refer to specifically. We have been competing with, migrating back and forth between those two platforms for ages, Salesforce and Microsoft. 10 years ago, if I met someone at a party and I mentioned I was in the CRM business world, they would say, "Oh, Salesforce." That's the only one they'd ever heard of, the only one they'd ever seen, and the platform it seemed like everyone was using. And here I was in the Microsoft world trying to advocate for this technology that a lot of people hadn't heard of or less familiar with. The world's changed. And when we talk to clients today, maybe they're running Salesforce and they've seen 8% price increases every year, or they're getting a 30% price increase bill now. And they start looking and they're curious about what else is out there. And they realize, hey, this Microsoft technology is not bad. It's actually quite compelling. And those customers who are looking from the perspective of a data strategy, they recognize how important data is, how it is the currency of tomorrow, or they have an AI strategy, which is ultimately a data strategy as well. They realize maybe they need a different technical platform. So as a result, we talk to a lot of Salesforce customers who are moving or considering the move, maybe prompted through a price change, or maybe their current platform Their business has changed. Maybe they don't have the adoption of the system they wanted. A common quote I hear is, it's a big, expensive Rolodex system that nobody really uses. If that's your CRM platform, whatever tool set it's deployed in, you're doing it wrong. And when people see what technology can do today, these are not Rolodexes, they're central business systems that contain some of the most important data that a client can monetize. That's where the conversation usually starts. So I see a general shift, even those who are staying on a Salesforce platform, to trying to be more data centric, get their data ready for AI platforms. Microsoft excels in those frameworks, of course, and that seems to be the big trend.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, it is an exciting time to be in the CRM space right now. There's a lot of innovation, and there's a lot more parity between the platforms than there used to be. And my next question here for Jordan, when you get involved in some of these conversations about people exploring Microsoft as an option, what do you hear from them about why they are looking outside of Salesforce and why they are thinking about switching?
Yeah, to kind of break that into two pieces. To start, why are they talking to Microsoft about our CRM Dynamics 365? And the reason, and the big, immediate response to that is, well, Dynamics 365, we've got a single integrated platform within Microsoft, right? So we're starting from the base level. We've got our cloud infrastructure, Azure, building our way up. We've got Power Platform, Dataverse, and eventually we get to Dynamics 365. But then we've also got all that native integrations with our productivity tools, right? The majority of businesses use things like Outlook and Teams already. They also use other tools like Power BI, Excel, Word. Everyone's familiar with those products. And all of those work seamlessly with Dynamics 365. So we get that a lot. We also like to talk with customers and make sure that they know that if they are going to, continue their or grow their relationships with Microsoft through an investment in Dynamics, that it's going to be a partnership. It's not just going to be a transactional relationship, but it's actually going to be, that partnership where we're looking to actually help those businesses grow and succeed further into the future. Now, why are people switching? Ryan actually illustrated a lot of this earlier. A lot of times we get poor user adoption I feel like that's probably the one we hear the most often. Salesforce came in at the very beginning, sold them with a really high, great sizzle demo, promised them, painted the dream. But unfortunately, a year and a half later, 2 years later, that dream has never really become reality. And, because of that, they've got that poor user adoption. So now they're kind of saying, hey, the value isn't there. It's not exactly what we were looking for or what we thought it was going to be from the beginning. So what else is out there? And that's where we can really hammer home that Dynamics, especially now in the age of AI, is a CRM system that works for those customers, not the other way around. Not that Rolodex that Ryan mentioned, but instead it's actually making those users more productive and more efficient instead of having to, just manually log their work in, whatever CRM system they're using.
Nathan, I think your mic's out.
Hopefully that's working better now.
You're back.
Yep.
All right. We go back. So yeah, like you were saying, Jordan, adoption is so key to the overall getting the value that you need out of these tool sets. And one of the things that is a key focus for Lithia when we go to help customers go through this process is focus on customer adoption. So I'm glad you brought that up and reiterated that. I wanted to turn to Kelly here for a few minutes. Kelly, your team was on Salesforce for a good bit of time. How did you guys use it, and what was your experience like using that tool?
Sure. Yes. So we were on Salesforce for many, many years. using the sales CRM module only. Primary functions were, pipeline, forecast, lead management, contacts, activity, and accounts. And, we decided we had been considering embarking on a transition for a couple of the reasons that we heard from Ryan and Jordan. We had considered embarking on a transition, and ultimately made the decision in early 2023 that we were going to transition to Dynamic CRM. And as with any technology project, anytime you embark on something like that, there's some underlying concerns, right, about making a move like that that's impacting the core functions of the business, protecting the integrity of data in a migration, user adoption always is a critical consideration. But ultimately, we made the decision to move and started the process last March. And we can. I'm sure we'll talk further about what our current experience is as well.
Yeah, that's it's interesting to hear you say that, Kelly, because that's what we hear from a lot of customers. They're worried about their data integrity. They're worried about that customer adoption. Ryan, back to you for can you walk us through a little bit what that switching process looks like for our customers?
Sure. Yeah, I want to start with the topic of adoption. It's so important. Most companies, when they say we just don't have adoption of whatever platform, I always ask, how are you measuring it? And they always say, I don't know, they just don't really seem to use it. Very general. We believe you should have a mathematical definition of adoption. So you're deploying these tools for a business reason, not just to have them. So if that business reason is to grow a certain segment of sales or improve on any business metric, there's some behavior you're expecting users to use the software to support some business process. And you can measure the adoption of a process mathematically. So in any system, even if you weren't changing, we believe if you start with a business strategy, why do we have this software? What are the tactics we expect our sales team, marketing team, field service team, whatever, to do that are going to grow that tactic? The whole system should be built around measures of those behaviors. And you should be able to have an adoption score, and you can slice and dice that by region, by sector, by manager, and manage adoption. Half of customers maybe should, before they switch, should just make sure they have a sound strategy of managing adoption. That said, if it is time to make a switch, if the system doesn't meet what your current business mindset is, there's really two extremes ways of doing this, which no one does either of the extremes. It's always right in between. So you either take a fresh start, let's just shut this down, boot this up, and get going. You can do that. Some people do. Some say, let's have a thorough, detailed migration of every bit and byte over here and move it over there. And we've done those projects. Neither of those approaches deliver fantastic results. The first is just too simplistic. You'll really defeat your mission of adoption right out of the gates when the team believes, wait, all this work, all this data I've been entering and managing all this time is just gone in the first strategy. So we don't recommend that. The second is a more common mistake. Let's recreate Salesforce in Dynamics, and let's even recreate the buttons and the bells and the processes. Let's copy and paste as much as we can. Our ability to migrate data to that level is great. We can migrate data. These are similar data models, but you're often bringing in yesterday's business strategy, yesterday's tactics, and yesterday's data quality. So we find usually something right in the middle makes the most sense. So start before you think about the technology and migration, again, with business strategy. What is our business trying to do today? What behaviors do I need my sales team or my field service team to do differently? And let's design a system around that. Initially, not worrying about what was in yesterday's software. What do I need today? design that, apply best practices per your industry, what's worked in other companies, do those things, and then come up with the right strategy for migrating the right amount of data. You don't want to fresh start with nothing. You don't want to copy and paste over every single thing. You can always archive data that doesn't have to be in your current systems. So each one's unique. It's worth just first taking a fly through of your current state and doing a health check, both in terms of the technology and the data and in terms of business strategy. Is there a match here? Are we using this correctly, or how should we change? And from there, there's a unique sort of step-by-step approach you should create from there.
Yeah, thanks for breaking that down, Ryan. There are lots of different paths that people could take once they decide to start this process. And when you bring somebody in with experience, they can help you avoid some of those challenges. I wanted to take kind of build on that a little bit, Jordan. Brian just gave us a lot of great insights as to some of the decisions that people need to make and how they should approach with a strategy first and technology second approach. What other advice would you give to people that are in this process of trying to consider a switch and how to approach it?
Yeah, to really kind of build off of what Brian just said there, I think one of the biggest keys is to really, look internally and say, why are we doing this process this way? Is it because the technology is built this way, so we're following the technology? Or is it because our process is this way and the technology is supporting that process? It's really digging to that very, very granular level of making sure that you're doing the process the way that your business needs it done, not just the way the technology is made to work. That's a start. Now, to your exact question, I think the biggest thing is to look at it from a long-term perspective more than anything else. So for customers that are still on the fence or they're still in an evaluation process between Dynamics and Salesforce, think about it from that long-term perspective and don't get deceived or, enthralled with a great demo up front, low pricing on discounts and a lot of that stuff from the very beginning. Just think about it from that long-term perspective. And for customers that are, actually looking to switch, that are on Salesforce and are currently switching, the first thing that I kind of just mentioned there is really, let's get to that granular level and make sure that the technology is working for us. Is Salesforce, or any CRM system for that matter, is it working for us, or are we actually working for it? We got to figure that out first. If it's not working for us, is there a way that it's going to change so that it is working for us? If it is, maybe you can reevaluate. If it's not, why continue on going down that path any further, getting no value out of the CRM system that you're using? Another thing is really think about, excuse me, when it comes to Microsoft versus Salesforce, what company there is one that's leading innovation, especially in terms of AI and those kind of things, or really just how those products are being built. So from Microsoft, everything is built internally. We've got that, the holistic Microsoft suite of products being built and co-developed together. And then we've got another company in Salesforce that's being built and grown through acquisitions to try to keep up with all those Microsoft products. We see Salesforce going out and acquiring MuleSoft or Slack or Tableau just to try to keep up with all of those products within the Microsoft suite. And the same thing when it comes to AI. Microsoft, we rolled out Copilot. Salesforce, a couple months later, rolled out their AI assistant. Couldn't even change the name. They still called it Copilot. Who's just really think about that from that perspective of who's leading and who's lagging, and who do you want to go with as we move into the future where AI is just going to be a bigger and bigger, more prevalent thing in all of our worlds as it relates to CRM.
Yeah, that's really critical. We got to take the big picture and think about who is leading in the industry. Kelly, I want to come back to you with a few more questions. I want to help our listeners today get a better sense of what the process was like for you and what life is like now that you've been through and lived through the migration process. So, kind of going back to the beginning, what were some of the things that you were worried about when you were beginning this migration? That maybe you're worried that going to Microsoft might be a setback in certain areas. Love to get your thoughts there, looking back.
Sure. And like I said, I think for me as a sales leader, the two critical things that I was looking at were, again, integrity of the data, and contemplating exactly what Ryan was talking about earlier, right? Like, what's our strategy? How do we get the right data, enough data, but not try to replicate Salesforce as a platform, because it wasn't necessarily as effective as we wanted it to be, right? So it was about that, and then it was about, again, the user adoption and making sure that Dynamics CRM became, was heavily adopted and became part of the culture of our organization. And honestly, like the migration exceeded my expectations. From preparation to go live, it again exceeded expectations, and we had virtually like zero downtime once we went live. And then post go live, it was like easy to use, flexible, and we were in it. So here we are. We went live in July of 2023. So we're 9-10 months into Microsoft Dynamics, and it's part of our DNA. It's how we operate. It's how we run our business. You know, like many others, we were previously functioning very heavily on the other Microsoft workloads. So natural fit in our environment. We're able to take advantage of the native integrations. Again, flexible, customizable, easy to use. And one of the things that's super exciting for us is the possibility of Copilot for sales, right? And looking at incorporating that into our instance is something that we're contemplating and looking forward to really moving forward with. So I just think it can take sales productivity to the next level. And I couldn't be happier with the way things went.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. I love what you said earlier about it's a part of your DNA now.
Yeah.
And that sounds like you've had really successful user adoption.
We absolutely.
Talk to us a little bit more, if you wouldn't mind, about what were some of the things that you did or throughout the project that you think helped you achieve that user adoption.
Yeah, a couple things. So first, for us, it was like starting early. We started the process with a small user group in March, right? So to really identify what the critical functionality was, what the critical data was, what we wanted to make work better for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we started the process very early, and we engaged users extremely early in the process to create awareness, create desire. We did very effective communication to our teams so that everybody was fully prepared to make the switch. And again, I just think it couldn't have gone any better for us in terms of making the transition.
Awesome. And kind of just the wrap up question here for you, Kelly, is, what last bit of advice would you give to somebody who's contemplating making this switch?
Yeah, I think my advice would be like, it's not as daunting as you think it's going to be, right? Because it is something that is viewed as, and I mentioned earlier, we had contemplated that, in prior years, and it was like, oh, it's such a big lift. It's such a heavy lift for everybody. It's not as complicated, complex, or daunting as you kind of expect it to be. and absolutely worth every minute that we spent on preparing and going through the migration.
That's good advice. I really appreciate that. Ryan, just as a final wrap-up question here, we've got just 2 or 3 minutes left. What advice would you give to somebody considering this switch?
Well, I would start with really assessing is a switch what we need, or is a change what we need? Not everyone who has the challenges we're discussing needs to change their enterprise software. You may be in a long-term agreement and can't change the software, but you can change how you're using that software. I think it doesn't hurt to look. And in fact, if we can help anyone just take a fly through their current environment, take a look, whether it's in how it's used or the data to get feasibility, like how it won't be zero daunting. It will be a project, it will be work, and it'll be disruptive. But is it a 10 on the Richter scale or a 2? It's worth maybe just having somebody take a look and give you some advice. And for me personally, if I look at someone's setup and I think what they need to do is not change their software, but change their approach, that's what I would advise them. On the other hand, if there's a scenario where there's a business case for change, let's figure out what the effort would be, how to minimize that. That's Alithia's role, really, is to help minimize the software and maximize the value of these changes. So I personally would love to help if anyone needs to just take a look and see, get a sense for what's available, what is Microsoft providing in the marketplace today. It's compelling, and what sort of effort would be required, and what might a change look like. It would be different for everyone. So just take a quick look through, no pressure, and just see what you think of the premise.
Thank you, Ryan. And Jordan, just any last thoughts and recommendations or advice that you'd like to share with the audience today?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you everybody for joining. Obviously, it's just great to be able to speak to individuals such as yourself. Kind of building off of what both Ryan and Kelly said there as kind of some advice, don't think of it as such a daunting process, right? Like Ryan just mentioned, maybe just dip your foot in, see what's available. We're here to help. Like I mentioned, Microsoft, we want to start a partnership with you and your company. Alithia, one of our great partners, wants to do the same. So it never hurts to listen and just, have some evaluation and see what's possible for your company that, maybe at the beginning sounds daunting, but over time you realize it's not such a big ask or such a big lift. And it's something that, looking at that long-term picture I talked about earlier, might be an astronomical change to your business and might help it grow and just go places where you never thought it could in the past.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank all of our panelists today. We really appreciate your time. And we hope the rest of you guys have a great day. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.